Shit-eating grin. That's the word.
Yeah.
My brain kept thinking cock-eating grin, and I was like, that's not the phrase.
Not it.
He had this little cock-eating grin on his face, and then, like...
Everyone, welcome back to the Casual Horror Podcast, or Casual Obsession Horror Podcast. Holy crap, I'm already off to a great start this week.
You said that a few times in the other episode, and I wasn't sure if you were doing it on purpose or not.
It's a bit now. It's officially a bit. Welcome back to the Casual Horror Podcast. That's what I call it. Nina, that's how I've always called it. Today we're talking about Crimson Peak from 2015 by Guillermo del Toro. It's a wonderful little gothic horror movie. If you listen to our last little bonus mini-sode, you know exactly what that means. So yeah, I'm Nina.
I am Noah.
Hey, it's me, your girl, E Nasty, coming at you live.
And I'm Jeff. I think we should clarify for our listeners who don't speak Spanish, Guillermo del Toro is Spanish for Willy the Bull.
Yeah, that's important. It actually surprisingly comes up in the plot of this movie.
It does.
It does.
When
del Toro...
when Crimson Peak's mom shows up.
Mrs. Maroon Peak.
Willy the Bull. Okay, so I forgot what order we go in. Do you wanna pull up the little outline for me? I'm very.
You wanna give us a short little summary of the movie,
but without any spoilers?
We probably
please.
do want to do that.
Yes.
No spoilers.
Here is
our summary.
Unspoiled.
Our little spoiler-free summary of the movie. Crimson Peak is about a young lady named Edith Cushing who is from America. She is living with a bunch of friends and her dad. They're all very social people. Her dad's a business boy. And Edith is a much quieter person. She's a writer. She believes that she should be taken seriously as a horror writer, despite the fact that she's a woman and people expect her to write
if you could imagine.
Can you imagine? And she is just continuing to try and live her dreams until this young man named Thomas Sharp comes into her life and is the first person to take her very seriously. And after a few tragedies befall her, she marries Thomas and moves to his mansion and starts to see that not everything is all good with her new husband. And that's about as spoiler-free of a summary as I can give.
Is it stated that the book she wrote was a horror story, or is it just that it had ghosts?
No, it just had ghosts.
She specifically says that it's just a story that has ghosts in it, which is, I think, how Del Toro would describe this movie as well.
Well,
the
ghosts
in this movie? Are just memories.
It's a metaphor. Yeah, I actually have that in my notes. The ghost is a metaphor. And then I wrote, the ghost had better be a metaphor.
This movie is full of some very fun metaphors that I can't wait to talk about later.
Yeah. But Nina, how was the critical consensus of the movie?
I'm so glad you asked, and so glad that my husband has it up on the computer so that I can tell you.
Because it's his thing.
Because it is his thing. Do you want to take it from here, Noah, actually?
Okay.
It's Noah with the rating segment. Theme music, please.
It's me with the rating segments.
So Noah, what was the critical consensus of this movie?
I wish I wrote down what critics thought versus what other people thought, because I would be very interested on that take. IMDb has this at a 6.5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes with a 72%. Metacritic with a 66%. Huh. And Letterboxd with a 6.6. 3.3 out of 5, you know.
So they thought it was okay. General consensus.
A lot of people, the general consensus is this is a solid 65. Except for Rotten Tomatoes, which is an outlier and should not be counted.
Of course.
So I want to say that given the director for this movie, this is an understandable rating because he is usually exceptional not just okay. So I see where everyone's coming from with this. When you watch a Guillermo del Toro movie, you're expecting something that does not have like the expected plot twists, which I feel like this movie falls into kind of a pattern.
Mhm.
Kind of.
But it's still like if it weren't Del Toro, I'd be like, wow, this is so good and unexpected. We don't ever get gothic horror in movies these days, but since it is Del Toro, it's kind of like, wow, this isn't
Another
his best
gothic
work.
horror movie. Okay, Guillermo.
No, it's just like, wow, this isn't his best work. It's still good for what it is, but it's not his best. Yeah. What are our ratings for it? What are our thoughts?
So it's kind of like if Dream Theater went and wrote like the best Nickelback album of all time.
Apparently,
And it's
Nickelback
like-
has a sea shanty, and it's actually pretty good.
I bet it is.
I don't
Oh my
want to hear
gosh.
about sea shanties on my own podcast. I'll hear about them on TikTok. I'll hear about them on Twitter. But please.
But this isn't the Wellerman song. It's a different song, Nina. It's a different sea shanty.
I can't believe Jeff brought up Nickelback to
And
lead
it
to
brought
this.
us.
I didn't
To
know
sea
about the
shanties.
sea shanty thing. That was unintentional.
I've only heard like a little bit of it, but it's actually good. Would
I
recommend.
bet it's probably fine.
Well, Nina, what's your rating of this movie?
I really like this movie. I like a lot of Del Toro's stuff more than this movie. Like Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water easily rate higher than this one in my overall movie life. But in my horror movie life, this one is a solid 8 out of 10, I'd say. I really, really like this movie.
You're just saying 8 out of 10 because I rated it 8
No,
out of 10.
that's where it rates for me.
Well, I rated it 8 out of 10. Emma, what about you?
I really like this sea shanty. Movie. I thought it was really like it was kind of like a nice poem. It's just very, very nice. Good time. Very pretty. Very yeah. It was very yeah. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Ah,
Sounds
so that you're
about
not
right.
the same.
I mean, I was planning on giving it an 8.5, so
Jeff, what about you?
So I'm not terribly familiar with a ton of Guillermo del Toro. I'm looking at a list of his movies right now to see which ones I've seen, and I liked.
He made Hellboy too.
I liked Pacific Rim.
Electric
I liked
Boogaloo.
Hellboy.
What about Hellboy 2?
I don't remember. I don't
Boogaloo.
think I've seen Hellboy 2.
It wasn't good.
I shouldn't expect so, but
I thought a lot of people like Hellboy 2.
I didn't care for Hellboy 2
ooh.
Do you like Hellboy 1?
a lot. I loved Hellboy
I
1.
remember
I
liking
enjoy
that one.
Hellboy.
Anyway, though, yeah. So I guess, admittedly, I don't know what to look for going into a Guillermo del Toro movie, so I don't have that kind of like expectation.
Baggage.
Yeah, I don't have that
Baggage?
that higher expectation
Yeah.
coming into it. You know,
I think his thing he's really known for is monster/creature design.
Yes.
And
That's huge.
This movie is especially weak on that, I would say, compared to like what he usually does.
more on that
this
later, I
is really
suppose.
just-
Uh,
Yeah.
But I just to clarify before I give a number here, I need you guys to understand I do not have the extra high expectations that most people who are more familiar with his work would probably go into it with. I'm gonna give it a 5. I really did not like this movie.
Oh wow!
I really did not like it.
Is this
I'm excited
is
to
this
hear
the
why.
twist?
This
is
is
the twist
This is
that
the
none of us
unexpected
saw
twist that nobody could have known about ahead of time.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Do you have the COVID?
Probably. I don't know.
I am excited to hear more about that in a second. But first, I think we need to go through what triggers and then Emma's scary rating.
And then
I believe so.
the spoiled synopsis after that.
Yes.
You
Yep,
wanna hit us with some triggers, Nina?
Yeah.
What, just some things that maybe leave one of them off
I
till
am
we
gonna
get to
leave
spoil.
that one off. I will throw it in right before the spoiler review. But right now in our general triggers, here we go. The dog dies. There is a dog. It's a super cute papillon. It dies.
Was that what
Tragic.
it was?
Yes. Also, there's a lot of gore, a lot of face gore specifically for some reason. A bunch of hand gore as well. People's hands get burned and cut up, and blades are grabbed. That kind of thing. Sorry, Noah. Noah does not like blades being grabbed.
I hate that.
No.
Yeah.
I hate it a lot.
But yeah, so those are both things that to look out for. Other than that, like Emma said, it's a really pretty movie. There's not a lot of emphasis on grotesque things.
So look out if you don't like pretty things.
Yeah, if you like
Yeah.
ugly things, go watch a Saw movie, you weirdo.
Yeah.
I'm being attacked for my beliefs.
But yeah, Emma, scary rating for Crimson Peak.
Yeah. So there was that one other trigger that we're not going to mention yet, right?
No, I'm not going to mention that until I'm in spoilers, and then I'll let them know.
Okay, that's good. So Emma's scary rating. This movie did something to me that a movie hasn't done in a while that we've watched. It actually made me jump.
Whoa.
Just the one time. But that was enough to excite me. But the thing that really makes this movie scary, besides, I mean, the ghosts look cool. Some of them are kind of creepy, but the ghosts look really cool. But the real thing that's scary about this movie is the incest, and that's why I give it 10 out of 10.
So anyway, trigger warning for incest, and also spoilers. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, so this is great time for me to launch into our spoiler review.
How is Emma the funniest person?
Are you
We've
surprised?
talked about this.
We've known
I'm not,
this.
but she's just so funny.
Okay, spoilers. Here's our synopsis. Like I said, I left off with Edith being this quiet writer in a city full of socialites in America, and
It's
this
Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, New
Oh, it's
York.
Buffalo,
We are-
New York.
Oh,
I'm
Buffalo.
walking here.
But
We're in
yeah.
Buffalo.
Anyway, this British dude played by Tom Hiddleston, Thomas Sharp, and his sister Lucille show up, and Thomas is able to sweep Edith off her feet, despite both Lucille and a bunch of the socialites kind of hoping that he would go for this other rich woman instead. I think her name was Eunice, which
Something
is just
like
the
that.
perfect Cinderella stepsister name, honestly.
Really, yeah.
But yeah, so Edith's dad is not super happy with this development, so he hires an investigator named Mr. Hawley to look into the Sharp siblings, and Hawley comes back with some information that pushes Mr. Cushing to act, and he pulls Thomas and Lucille aside and says, "Hey, no way are you marrying my daughter. In fact, here's a large check, and you guys will only be able to cash it if you get out of my house." And so he adds on the stipulation that Thomas needs to break Edith's heart. So Thomas tells Edith, "Hey, your book sucks and you suck and I hate you and I'm leaving," which suitably breaks Edith's heart. And then after all that's said and done, a figure in black assaults and kills Edith's dad while he is shaving, leaving Edith both brokenhearted and with a dead dad. Thomas returns, says he couldn't bear to leave her. Edith finds out her dad is dead, and this sets everything up perfectly for Thomas to whisk her away to England to his mansion on top of this mountain that's made of red clay. Can you guys hear that?
Are they using a
No.
power saw
I
upstairs?
can't hear anything.
I can't hear
Okay.
anything.
I'm glad.
Good.
It's
All right.
so
I'm
frustrating.
sure that we'll be able to hear it on the recordings.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you know. Where was I at? Okay, so the mansion.
Yeah, they
once
get to
they
the
arrive-
mansion.
Once they arrive at this mansion,
It's shaking my feet.
once they arrive at Thomas and Lucille's mansion, where they've been living alone apart from some groundskeepers who come up time to time to help Thomas work on this machine he's built to mine this red clay, Edith starts to find some suspicious stuff around. She finds initials of ES, which are now her initials since she's married to Thomas, but they're not on things that belong to her. There's this dog that Thomas claims not to know where it came from, all sorts of suspicious stuff, and then most importantly, she starts seeing some red clay coated ghosts. They are dripping with the stuff.
Mhm.
Lucille doesn't believe her. Thomas doesn't believe her. Lucille will make her like tea to calm her down. Edith is like, okay, maybe I'm just seeing things. Maybe it's my imagination. She starts coughing up blood, getting really sick. The ghosts don't go away. And then one night she finds some recordings for a bunch of women who each speak about being married to Thomas. Meanwhile, in America, one of Edith's friends, a doctor, is discovering the same thing through Mr. Hawley. As this goes on, Edith and Thomas are actually, it seems, pretty much in love. Despite this like revelation, they still are very passionate with each other, to the chagrin of Lucille, who in one night's kind of happenings as Edith tries to investigate things, she finds Lucille and Thomas in the midst of a really gross incest makeout. Woohoo!
Yay, incest!
It's
They fucking
Extra gross.
It's super
She's
gross.
like in his ear singing that lullaby that she sang to him when he was a kid, while she has her hand down his pants. It's very bad.
It's very bad.
Really gross.
It's really gross.
Very uncomfortable.
This kicks off the climax where Edith. What was that? Oh no!
I just laughed because you said climax after
Yeah.
talking about incest.
I knew you did. I couldn't hear you, but I knew that's what had happened. But yeah, so this kicks off the climax as Lucille tries to get Edith to sign papers that would turn all of her estates over to the Sharp siblings. And Edith's doctor friend from America shows up just in the nick of time to kind of help Edith out, even though he does get quite stabbed. He gets stabbed by Lucille, and then Lucille is kind of sick of Thomas being a wuss and not taking any murderous actions on his own. So she's like, hey, Thomas, stab the doctor. And Thomas walks up real close to the doctor so that Lucille can't hear him and is like, hey, you're a doctor. Show me where to stab you so I don't kill you. And they go with that. So the doctor is pretty badly hurt, and Thomas takes him down to this basement area where a bunch of the red clay is being held in like these cisterns. And he leaves him there and he's like, I'm going to go get Edith. We'll make it out of this. It's fine. Trust me on this one. And he goes to go and try and get Edith away from Lucille. When he tries to talk to Lucille about Edith, Lucille freaks out, kills her brother, tries to kill Edith. Edith and Lucille have a showdown in the snow outside. The snow is colored red by the clay. It's a really cool scene. And right when it looks like Lucille might have the upper hand, Edith points out that the ghost of Thomas is behind her. And when Lucille turns around,
the biggest no look behind you I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, Edith just like cracks her on the back of the head with a shovel and kills her. Very, very weirdly paced scene. Not the best scene in the movie, but Edith and her doctor friend are able to get out, and we are shown that the story we've been being told is a book that Edith ended up writing. So there you go.
This
You did
definitely didn't happen to me, by Edith Cushing.
Yeah. And the ghosts were memories all along.
Yes, something like that. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's the conversation that she has with her doctor friend. I think his name's Alan.
Yeah, Alan, who's
Alan Rickman.
so. I get that there's not a lot of named characters in this movie because there's just not a huge cast. But the fact that on Wikipedia, my top 10 people didn't include Doug Jones, who did all the physical acting for
Doug Jones never gets enough credit.
the ghosts of Edith's mother and Lady Sharp. But Ogilvy, the old man with no speaking role, who is being treated by Dr. Allen he's on screen for 10 seconds. He gets billed on Wikipedia above Eunice, the love interest that was cast aside, and Doug Jones, who played actual on-screen characters.
Hold on. Here's a question for everyone
Ogilvy.
here. Is this our first movie with Doug Jones in it on the
It is.
podcast?
Yeah.
Hey, that means we get to talk about Doug Jones.
I don't know.
Even
No.
I, as someone who doesn't know much about horror, know who this person is because
Yes.
he's so prolific and creepy.
I have no idea who
Yes,
Doug
he
Jones is.
Oh my god.
I was
Okay.
really hoping Jeff would say, but for people who definitely aren't me, who might not know.
Some of our listeners and co-hosts
Jones.
might not know who he is.
So Doug Jones works very closely with a lot of directors, but specifically with Guillermo del Toro. He's been in Hellboy. He was our fish friend. I forget his name off the top of my head.
Oh, he's the fish stick guy. Okay.
Yeah, he's 6'4". He's really skinny, and he moves in a very concerning fashion when he needs to.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't he
was
play
the
a fish man in 2 different Del Toro movies?
Yes.
do?
Okay.
So the story goes, and I'm not sure how true this is.
He's the Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth.
He's the Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth.
Still
but the
haven't
story
seen that.
goes about The Shape of Water is that Del Toro wanted to continue writing for the Hellboy universe, and he wanted to write an origin story for the Fishman. I think it's Abe, isn't it?
Abe Sapien.
Oh,
Abe Sapien.
So it's supposed to be the
He wa-
same fish man.
In
his
as
mind,
the story
sort
goes,
of, like
he wasn't
non-canonically.
Yeah,
Okay.
non-canonically, he wasn't able to write Abe Sapien's origin story, and instead wrote The Shape of Water and billed it as a completely different story.
Oh.
So Doug Jones plays both of those characters. He plays the Pale Man. He plays, I think, every ghost in this movie, I believe.
Yeah, they didn't say that he played every ghost, but like,
They all look like him.
yeah.
They all move like him. I want to
'Cause
say it's
I
all
feel
of them,
like-
except for the baby, obviously.
I guess the
Nah, he
red
played
ghosts,
the baby too.
all of them were supposed to be Lady Sharp, I think. Because I think I kind of got the vibe that there was only supposed to be like one red ghost.
I got the impression
And
that it
then-
was a series of ghosts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
same
they
here.
buried all of the bodies in those cisterns after
Yeah,
they
but
killed them.
I didn't get the idea that all of the bodies or that all of the ghosts were each wife. Maybe the Italian one.
I was gonna say she specifically calls out Enola by name, and Enola answers. To
They all
that
have
name.
But I
different
don't-
head wounds as well.
They
One
do.
is like crushed and collapsed in, and one's chopped down the middle.
No, there we go.
Yeah.
It does not specify that he played the other ghosts other than Edith's mother and Lady Sharp, but I think since I'm not finding any information to say that he didn't do that,
We're gonna assume.
I think it's a safe bet.
Reasonable
Oh, he
enough.
played the Bye Bye Man.
He
Yes,
was
I
the
did know
pee-pee
that. He did
poo-poo
play the
man.
Bye Bye Man.
The pee-pee
Pee-pee
poo-poo
poo-poo
man.
He played
Oh,
the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man.
I love
Just had
the
to get
pee-pee
into an
poo-poo
area
man.
of film that Jeff was familiar with.
Oh, that movie sucked. We gotta cover that.
One day you can. That can be your pick.
Yeah, you could waste your pick on that.
It'll be a little while.
But yeah, Doug Jones is kind of amazing, and you'll definitely hear about him again on this podcast, as he's in quite a few horror movies whenever they need just a big gangly dude. I don't think he was the leper in It. I don't know if that was another similar actor.
Similar actor. That was
Mhm.
somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's the
the contortionist.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
there's another
contortionist
actor
who's like
also very
criminally skinny, like machinist levels skinny,
Ugh.
but that's just how he be.
Yikes.
There are just some actors out there who specialize in having a weird body type and using that to be a living practical effect.
And I say
Mad
good
respect
for them.
because
Mhm.
honestly, it makes me so happy that they're willing to do that because nothing is more unsettling. Like in this movie, the ghosts were like CG'd in.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to have the same kind of fun. Like you could tell that they weren't moving in the unnatural, totally CG way.
Right.
Like there was something real there. But it was so nice in other movies that he's been in to just see something that is not okay to see.
Yeah, like finally a
Because
real
they just-
fish man wandering around on the earth.
Like he's a great character, like actor, you know,
Yes.
not a character actor, but he's a great creature actor.
Yes.
He's really
Mm.
good at just not moving the right way.
Like Andy Serkis.
Andy
Yes.
Serkis also,
Also
very good
real
at
good
it.
at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Doug Jones was in the What We Do in the Shadows TV show as the like as the like count, like the main, like the Baron.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
he's called. Yeah. He gets the speaking role in that one, and you can tell he's just like living his best life. I loved him.
Nice.
But yeah, so Doug Jones, feature number 1 in this movie that I absolutely adore. Other things about this movie, all the symbolism. I was going to talk about Alan and Edith's conversation about being colorblind and how seeing ghosts almost seems to be an inherited like trait, or a trait that certain people can have.
Yeah.
In this case, Edith can see ghosts.
I thought that was pretty cool. That's a neat
yeah, me
setup to it.
Yeah, especially since ghosts are kind of referred to as memories. We're talking about like latent images. It's like Edith's ability to see ghosts is very similar to this camera that Alan has developed. In a similar way, she can see the memories in real life that camera can see in pictures. So I thought that was really cool. I really like Edith as a main character. She is a writer. She is pretty strong. She also is able to like show emotion in a way that I feel like a lot of strong female characters aren't allowed to. And though she's a victim in a lot of scenes, she does manage to pull herself together and be the one who kicks butt in the end.
Really well acted as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hiddleston's really good. I think he kills it.
And we do
fun
get
fact.
a great look at his ass, and he's working with a good bit more than Kevin Bacon was.
That's like Tommy Wiseau levels of ass.
It was
Like,
Almost,
it did
yeah.
directly remind me of The Room.
so I was
It's kinda
joking
shot
about this
the
with
same
Nina
way.
earlier, but with how like we're talking about how gothic horror is sexy but not sex filled. That's a lot of ass on the screen.
It was
I'm
a
just
lot,
I'm just
yeah.
saying it's a lot of
I
ass.
love
It
the way
is-
she like pulls his pants down just to the bottom of the cheek and then stops.
Yeah.
In a way that
like you-
nobody would ever take off another person's pants.
Just like, yeah, that's it. That's all I want. And then it's like, because it was just in the back, it was pulled down. You could see the line
Yeah.
going straight up to his waist in the front.
Oh my god.
Obviously, he's not going to get full on naked in front of the camera and actually have sex with someone. That's
Obviously.
not that kind of movie.
Obviously not.
However, they made a purposeful choice to include a whole lot of hiddle ass in this movie.
So when Noah and I were talking before we went to filming, Noah pointed out that when you look up Crimson Peak, the sex scene is the first thing that comes up. And I know the reason for this.
Like, it's an autocomplete. If you just search Crimson Peak in YouTube and hit enter, that is not what you find. But the first autocomplete suggestion is Crimson Peak, Thomas Sharp, Edith love scene.
Wow.
And I can tell you why. It's because of all of the Tumblr fans who liked Loki so much.
Of course.
But there's no Tom Hiddleston ass in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No,
so
but
they
there's a
had to
ton
look
of it in that
elsewhere.
scene.
Actually, the
So
first autocomplete suggestion is Crimson Peak full movie.
Not
It's
on
this-
my side.
Wow, that
Well,
says
we
more
know-
about you than it does.
We know what you're kind of looking up, Noah.
I just want to see Tom Hiddleston's butt again.
You set yourself up for that one.
Noah's not out here trying to pirate movies, but he is trying to get a good look at some man ass.
Mhm. What can I
Can't
say?
blame him. Can't blame him.
So I'm, to detour away from this, a huge fan of
That's
when
my segment.
they
Nina
arrive
talks
at the
about
manor.
strong female characters. I talk about men's butts.
We are not the same. I'm a huge fan of when they get to the manor and Thomas is just like, oh, by the way, super convenient for my notes that Tom Hiddleston played a man named Thomas. That made me
Yeah.
very happy.
Yeah.
Anyway, they arrive and he's like, oh yes, groundskeeper, this is my wife. And he's like, I know, sir, you've been married a long time. Stares pointedly at the camera. And she's just like, what does that mean? And Tom's just like, oh, who even knows? He's a crazy old man. We inherited him with the house anyway. It's just like this man who is seen as incredibly competent in other times. Like, he's not an idiot. He's not like
Clearly.
senile. but also he can't tell the difference between these three very different looking women
Well,
that Tom has brought home.
We see how different their hair colors are, specifically when Lucille's doing her little pinned butterfly moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more an indication that like Finley is in on the racket and he's like playing along too hard. You know, like he's not good at it. He's trying to be a part of the lie and make it convincing, but like he's just not good at it.
I don't know that that's the case because he doesn't seem to hang out at the house much.
No.
Like it just seems to be the two. And I don't think that they wanted anyone else to get in on their weird incest business.
I shouldn't expect so.
I wouldn't think so.
Well, but I mean, the way
like,
that Tombow is like, oh yeah, his family has worked for my family for centuries. And, you know, it kind of implies that he should be familiar with things. I don't know.
how weird is that? Just like to detour that there's like culturally just used to be this thing where there would be people who would be servants for a specific family of rich people forever.
Yeah, like a
Indefinitely.
dynasty of butlers.
Yeah, it's wild.
Dynasty
And
of
they were
Butlers,
happy
incidentally,
about
is the
that.
name of my new album.
That's a good
It's a
one.
good one,
That's actually
actually.
a good one. I might write that down.
If you're listening to this podcast and you heard that, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. We've already trademarked it. Suckers.
But yeah, no, it is weird because I like when I first read Artemis Fowl as a kid, that it also tipped me off as a little weird. Like, wow,
Yeah.
they really did just have like generations of people working for other generations of people.
See,
Yeah.
but at least in that case, while the butlers were like specific to their family in a way, they also were like just a family of hitmen butlers.
See, I did
Yeah.
know that mentioning Artemis Fowl would get us off on this side tangent. So
Well, I read all the books. You shouldn't have mentioned it if you don't want me to talk about it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie yet because I don't want to.
Don't
I've
want
heard
to
it
see
was
the
I
movie.
don't want to be that. I don't want
I
to.
just don't want to.
speaking of movies, let's talk about this one.
Okay.
Oh, right.
One really cool thing, I Noah asked me at one point while we were watching the movie what was up with like the moths versus the butterflies.
Mhm.
And after a moment of thinking about it, it became pretty clear that it's directly parallels Edith and Lucille.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah, I walked out during the very obvious setup scene because I had to go to the bathroom, but I also had to
Yeah.
be up for work early, so I'm like, I'm not pausing the movie.
Yeah.
So I
where
missed the entire setup.
Where Lucille was like, "Oh, we only have moths at our place, and they eat all the butterflies."
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Which there's a
Yeah.
lot of problems with that statement. Like, number one, if you've only got the moths and no butterflies, then what are the moths eating? Number two, I'm pretty sure moths don't eat butterflies. I don't think that happens.
black
does
They
it?
moths
do
do.
at Crimson Peak.
Apparently.
She clearly she also takes a couple butterflies home and like keeps them in cages, which she never really talks about. And Lucille just has a
Yeah.
rich, passionate, hobby-filled life that we never learn much about. She plays piano, she collects butterflies.
I got to
What's
be
her
honest,
deal?
she's kind of shitty, and I don't care that I don't learn much about her because she's just a
Aw.
really shitty
She
person.
is,
I mean, yeah.
like, she had she has mommy issues, Noah.
That's fantastic. I watched a video about this movie where the guy was trying to play up how much he felt bad for Lucille and how she's like the unsung victim of the movie.
What?
And it's just like,
No.
my guy,
No.
my
just
guy.
say you thought she was hot.
Literally.
Just say you have mommy issues and thought she was hot.
Because he's talking about this, and I'm just like, oh no, I don't like that.
Not to
'Cause-
be Sigmund Freud, but that sounds like a him problem
Yeah,
to me.
it
I don't
would
know,
have
I'm just-
cost her $0 to not be the horrible person that she was.
Mhm.
Well, so I think this isn't stated clearly in the movie, but the timeline is she killed their mom, she went to a mental hospital, she came back and made Thomas never leave her side again. And
is
like,
that the timeline? I thought the timeline was they were together well before the mom died.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the reason that they killed the mom
Oh, they
because she
were.
found
Yeah.
out.
no, they were, but
Yeah.
she killed the mom and then they were separated.
Oh,
And she was
the
sent
way
to-
you said that made it sound like the relationship
No.
happened after they came back.
No.
But she did mention that that her mother was horrified.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Well, in that, can you freaking blame her?
Yeah,
No,
Tom-
not at all.
She seemed like a terrible person, but she was the victim of an abusive husband as well. I think it's kind of
the
trying to
abusive
be.
husband that threw all their money away traveling.
It seems like they're kind of trying to make a kind of story about the cycle of abuse, but
Elm
it's
Street was
not
better.
super.
But the cycle ended where they all just died.
That's how you
Yeah.
end the
There's no
cycle of
escaping this.
abuse.
One could argue that Thomas ended the cycle by being too cowardly to kill anyone. He really
I guess the
didn't
cycle
do
would have
anything.
just
kids.
ended
That's
then,
the way
wouldn't
you
it?
end the cycle of abuse. You just be a bitch and don't commit any murders, and then the whole thing wraps itself up.
Sounds like something Lucille would say, honestly.
Yup.
She's a funny
Congrats,
character
Jeff.
to meme on.
I
As far
said
as,
it
like,
intentionally as like an astrologically bad take, just to be clear.
Congrats, Jeff.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, Edith makes so many attempts to like reach out and befriend Lucille, and Lucille seems like she's opening up, and then she just shuts down
Her
again.
one attempt was a little on the nose, though, where she's like, there will be nothing but warmth and friendship in this house. It's like, whoa, you just got here. Even if we were friends, that's too strong
Yeah.
of a coming in for me.
First
Like,
off, you brought a dog into my house, and I don't like the dog. I thought I was
She
rid
was-
of the dog.
she was so pissy about that dog.
She really just doesn't like that dog. She did kill the dog, so
She did kill the
Yeah,
dog.
she did kill the dog.
Spoiler
She didn't
alert.
like it.
I mean, we already said she killed the dog.
also
Well, no,
here's-
we said the dog died.
Here's one thing about Lucille, and I guess strong female characters as well. Like, I get that they're trying to kind of absolve Thomas of all blame. They're trying to make Thomas the good guy retroactively, but why is it such a big deal that Lucille was the one to kill Mr. Cushing? Like, that doesn't, like, it doesn't matter which of the siblings it was.
I see
Why are
you
they
also saw my Chekhov's razor note.
No, I've been thinking about this the whole time. It's like that's treated like a big reveal, and it's like, yes, we know Edith.
Well, that's
we know
because in their
Lucille.
profile shot, they definitely used Tom. They
Yeah.
didn't
No,
even look the same.
when they showed from the back what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is my second watch through, and I thought to myself when I was watching the scene happen the first time, like when it actually goes down and not in the flashback, I was like, wow, that's very obviously Lucille from the back. Like, they don't show her face or anything, but you can kind of see that her hair is pulled back.
Yeah, from the hair shape, because I thought, like, oh, obviously it's Thomas that's gonna kill him.
Yeah.
That's what
But
I thought
then
too.
I was like, oh, that's not Thomas's hair. That's not Tommy Tom's hair. And so I was like, maybe they hired somebody to kill him, or there's like some third character that's traveling with them.
That would have been a cool if we got our very own grinder, but for Crimson Peak.
The grinder's just going to follow us through every movie. Can't escape the mysterious grinder.
Or the real villain, the Grinder's mom.
Grinder's mom.
Was that just the lady of the island?
I guess.
To be fair, Lucille and Thomas's mom, it does play a part in this story.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
So, with Cushing's death,
Yes.
I gotta say, I was a little bummed out at how clearly they set up the razor as the weapon that would be used to kill him.
Yeah, right?
Like, they had a separate scene where he's just like, I'm shaving. And then they had
Yeah.
that scene where they set it up, and he so purposefully sets it down, and then it accidentally washes off onto the floor, and he picks it up, and then he gets, his head bashed into a sink.
Yeah.
And then they had the gall to act like, well, there was water on the floor. It could have been an accident when he broke through the sink.
Yeah.
They did the same kind of misdirect play at the end where Edith, is that the girl's name?
Yeah.
Where she's hiding next to the like clay bubbly pit, and she puts the knife down very purposefully on top of it.
Mm,
And
yeah.
it like very much shows, ooh, she put the knife down and she's hiding. And then Lucille comes down and then she just picks up the knife. I'm like, I thought that was going to be something.
Well, but
yeah,
then
and
Lucille
Lucille
pulls the-
unwraps an entire
Yeah.
different knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucille's just like, I have a bigger knife. You called out,
called
a,
out
knife.
a knife.
This is annoying.
This is a butcher's cleave.
It's the
I
other
killed
knife's.
my mom with this one.
It's the other knife's mom.
I swear on me mum.
I love that little bit of dialogue where she's like, before everyone came and carted me away to the loony bin, I hid this little treat down here. And it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I do love it. Gosh, what was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna talk about one last story thing, and then I actually want to move on away from story towards the visuals because that's my favorite part of this movie. Alan is such a freaking nerd. His whole character is just that he wants to be a detective, and he is so hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
Arthur
such a
Conan
good
Doyle.
boy, though.
He is a good boy. He's trying so hard. And he is the second of the trio of white dudes who look the same that I mentioned at the beginning in
Yeah.
Overlord.
Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam.
Humana.
Since he doesn't have a beard, he actually doesn't look that much like Wyatt Russell in this movie, but
Well, but he
still.
does look like an extremely generic white dude.
He do. Oh man.
This guy was the one in Pacific Rim, right?
I think he was.
No, that's Charlie
It's been a
Day.
while since I saw him.
Oh wow. With facial hair, he looks a lot less like that round face happy boy. Oh, he's the Sons of Anarchy guy.
He's Sons of Anarchy
Yeah.
and Black Sails.
Oh.
Or Black Sails, yeah.
Oh,
I never
man, they
watched
did a
Sons
number
of
on him for
Anarchy.
this.
But I remember seeing commercials for it fucking all the time, and that's
Mhm.
like the main way I know this actor now.
And it has two Guillermo del Toro boys in it because Ron Perlman is also in Sons of Anarchy.
I
Yeah,
don't know if I'd call him a Guillermo del Toro boy though.
He's been in Pacific Rim and
he was
Hellboy.
in Pacific Rim too.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
bad.
wish he would have been in this movie. He would have made it
he could
better.
have been Mr. Cushing.
Like,
Can
as
you imagine if
Hellboy,
he was
just Hellboy showing up out of the clay mine, like,
I
hey,
know.
what's up?
No, I would have liked him coming in as the groundskeeper. And it's like, I know it's your fucking wife. I've seen her before.
That'd be good, yeah.
He does some voice. Ron Perlman, random Ron Perlman train. I was watching. We were watching the Coco adjacent DreamWorks movie, Book of Life. I don't know if it's DreamWorks or what. I think it was DreamWorks, but he voices the god of death, the god of the like forgotten Xibalba in that movie, and
Ain't that
Xibalba
the guy
just
from
looks
Star
like.
Wars?
Jaburba.
Jaburba!
I don't even remember what that
That's-
character.
that's
Sebulba.
Zabulba.
Yeah,
Thank
that's what
you.
I'm saying. Jabulba is ready. Yeah.
You guys-
No, that's the Spider-Man guy that he wrestled with.
Macho Man Randy
Jabulba,
Savage. Yeah, Jabulba.
So,
Macho Man Jabulba Savage.
Anyway,
Now
Ron
that's
Perlman.
podcasting.
He Ron Perlman's great and I love him. But anyway, I want to talk about visuals.
Okay.
Can we talk about visuals?
Yeah, let's
Oh,
talk about
sure.
some visuals.
Yeah, we
Let's
got
talk
that.
about some
We got that like
vish.
Argento lighting in this movie. I like it a lot.
High key. So
Yeah.
I love the ghost design. Does that count as visual?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
now
I
hold
like
on
the
a
ghost
second.
design.
I've got major beef with some of the ghost design. Okay, so the red ones, cool. I like how they look. The CGI is a little bit obvious with a couple of them, but
It
whatever.
can get iffy. I wish they hadn't
Yeah.
done
Okay,
that
but
much
I've got an
CGI.
absolutely massive problem with
Is it the
Edith's-
absolutely massive forehead?
No, Edith's mother
Oh.
being a ghost that is a skeleton with lips. What the
Oh,
hell?
yeah.
yeah, no, it is
Yeah,
bad.
no, that's a
Like,
valid
commit
critique,
to it
I think.
being a skeleton or put skin on the rest of the thing. I
actually
hate
have
that.
I do
hate
actually have
that.
some questions about how the ghosts work because,
Oh yeah.
Tommy Boy came in fresh and ready to go. He was still beaten heart human ghost.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then her mom was like mostly a skeleton.
but lip.
Yeah, and her
And-
mom
Yeah.
had just died as well. It wasn't like the
Mhm.
state of the ghost reflects the state of the bodies. Which, if it
Right.
were
Well,
just
was it that
Thomas,
night that her mom came in?
it was like the night of the funeral.
Oh, I didn't think it was that soon. I
She
thought
was
it was.
still a kid.
They do.
She was still a kid. They don't really say how long it was, though.
Yeah.
It's
And
just like they're
yeah.
at the funeral, and then the next scene is like
I assumed
her
some
in her
time had
bedroom
passed.
and-
Okay.
So we
But-
don't really know for sure.
Yeah, my hypothesis is that ghosts in the Crimson Peak universe
right.
reflect what the body looks like.
That's actually a really interesting thing that
And
I actually
the-
might agree with.
It does seem to match.
Because-
The worms just didn't get to her juicy lips yet.
Yeah. So take that, Jeff.
Why are you like
Yeah.
this?
It definitely
Trauma.
does seem that way though, with all of the ghosts in Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
It does
Mhm.
seem like
Yeah.
With all their head
Because
wounds.
that's the only reason that they'd be red, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, I'll give a pass on wounds because a lot of times in movies you'll have a ghost that carries over its killing wound from life,
Right.
but they don't keep
Mhm.
decaying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these ghosts have decayed and
Yeah.
they are having a straight up bad time.
One neat
Yeah.
touch on all the red ghosts that we see is they all have the like ring finger chopped off of their left hand. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
neat. It's a nice touch.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It's like
That's
right up in the
cool.
camera at one point. That's why I noticed.
Yeah.
It is really cool.
I when Edith's mom shows up for the second time to warn her about Crimson Peak,
Mhm.
and she like slams the door and is like holding it closed so the ghost mom can't get in. It just really reminded me of Community, where there's this bit where I think Chang, for those of you who have
Yes.
seen Community,
I haven't.
Chang is like, ghosts can't go through door. It's not fire, stupid. And then like a few episodes later, they're stuck in somewhere and like they think there's a fire, and or maybe it's the other way around. And they're like, fire can't go through doors. It's not ghosts, stupid.
Nice.
And so when she shuts the door, I'm like, which one is it gonna be?
I had that
Noah
written down
literally just said out loud when that happened. He's like, "Wow, yeah, shut the door, Edith. That'll work."
Yeah, it's just like you're literally writing a ghost story.
Yeah, Edith, you of anyone should know, Miss Ghost Story writer.
So I guess a lot of people complain that she should have realized not to go with Thomas to Crimson Peak because
She
of her
didn't know
mother's
that was
warning.
She
Crimson
didn't know it was
Peak.
called
She literally
Crimson
didn't.
Peak.
Literally, it is quite clearly explained in the movie
He
that
doesn't find out till later.
Yeah, only the
Exactly,
locals say
'cause-
that.
like she remembers the warning, especially because she got a fresh re-up on it the night before or whatever. But then she gets there and he's like, Crimson Peak. Camera zoom. What? It's very clear she understands that her mother's warning was about this place,
Yeah.
which is why she starts snooping around
Right.
because it's being weird.
Yeah.
But apparently people complain about that. So I
That's
did want to
weird.
get this out there right now that is unacceptable and really
No.
stupid.
Yeah, complain about things that are legitimate complaints about the movie, guys.
Yeah,
Come
speaking
on.
of which, Jeff, I wanted
Yeah.
to know.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Why do you hate this movie?
I got a
so
lot
much?
of problems here. Okay, so yeah, it's not a ghost story. It's a story that has ghosts in it. Ha ha ha. But like, I wanted the ghosts to be a bigger part of the story. And considering that
It's a
we
metaphor?
literally start the movie with a ghost, and then every movement of the plot is preceded by a ghost, I thought the ghosts were going to end up actually like mattering. And
Doing more
the-
than just being a
and
distraction
the
at the
seeing
very end.
ghosts being like color blindness thing might, come back or something, and it just doesn't. The machine, the mining machine,
Mhm.
gets built up for the
yeah.
whole movie, and then it doesn't end up mattering at all.
It's a cool set piece, though.
No, I'll give you that. That one does get to me a little bit.
Okay,
Because
Now-
as we all know, the ghosts are metaphors
right, of course,
for
Yeah.
Thomas being
Uh-huh.
unable to get it up with his mining machine,
of course.
Yep.
which is why they stopped appearing once the mining machine started working.
But
Yeah.
okay, so
What are you saying?
more about the mining machine, though. Okay, so the mine itself is directly below the house. What is this, a fucking Terraria game? That's not how anything works. Nobody has a mine directly
But the
under their
house is
mansion.
sinking.
It
But the
doesn't make
house
any
is
sense.
sinking.
Why did they put it there?
See, I got the idea that the mine was discovered when they dug like a cellar. They realized that there was a lot of really good clay. That ground is so wet, though.
It is so
They couldn't
wet.
have
They're
not
like
known.
on a bog
It leaches
on a
through the
hilltop.
snow when they walk on it. They couldn't have not known before they built it. It would have been like Monty Python. We built a mansion here, and then it sank into the clay. So we built another mansion on top of that, and then it sank into the clay. But then we built another mansion on top of that, and it sank
So-
into the clay.
Here's a fun story, actually, about building houses on clay. I used to
It's
live
from
in
the Bible.
I
It
used to live in
is.
Texas. I used to live in Texas. And my dad and I were talking about how some of the ground in Texas is clay. And so you have to build like a cement foundation before you put anything else down, because otherwise the clay doesn't allow the building materials to expand and contract as they would naturally.
Right.
So there's a lot of issues. And that makes me think about this movie where the thing is actually that it just sinks. It's like, can clay cause building problems? Yes, but I think you would notice them before you put a whole mansion there.
It's just so soupy, and it's on the top of a hill.
Yeah.
I
How
mean,
is
they
the hill
said that
so
they've been
soupy?
there for centuries, right? Or whatever. So I think it's more that they built the mansion there, and then over time the house started sinking and this clay started coming up. And so then they
Kinda
started
weird.
looking for a way to like extract it so their house would stop sinking.
See, I'm not a geologist or a
read.
constructor or a physicist or any
Me
of that.
neither.
But
I
think,
studied religion.
But I think to myself, why not just leave the house? You guys are already broke.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that
one of
seemed to be
numerous.
what Thomas was arguing for in the end.
I agree with him.
Also, spineless Thomas out here, not willing to break it off with his sister or his wife. He's like, we can all go do this.
No,
We
And
can
Thomas-
live together.
Thomas, you
Like, that's
you
gonna
know
work.
you already know this wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
It was very clearly spelled out that this
Tom's
wasn't
your
an
sister
option.
has already tried to kill your wife several times.
Yeah.
Neither of them are going to be okay with this.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, also, beyond those problems, I think the soundtrack sucks also.
It's very generic.
Yeah,
It is pretty generic. I'll give you that.
It's like a more
You didn't
generic
like-
version of the Insidious soundtrack. The scares
Apart
are
from the
all
lullaby,
jump
which is okay.
scares.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it.
You didn't like when Nickelback's "Look at This Photograph" started playing?
That was all right. That
Yeah.
I was okay with, but
I liked that during the waltz scene. It
Yeah.
was really good.
It was a bold move, but you know what? It was nice to see some people finally like put some modern music into a movie without it being gimmicky.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're looking right at you, Greg Gatsby.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the Leonardo DiCaprio Great Gatsby has a bunch of random modern music kind of just dropped into it.
Oh, well, that's dumb.
You mean the quintessential I love the 1920s movie?
Yeah, something like that. It's not very
Yikes.
good.
Wow. Why didn't they just toss in like the fucking ink spots or something? The kids love that from Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the kids do love that. That's why it was just a really bad decision and kind of broke the whole movie for me. Everything
Yeah.
else was okay. But we're not talking about
Had
the Great
Tobey
Gatsby
Maguire.
Anyway.
with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Speaking of the waltz scene, though, that was actually one of the parts of the movie that I liked because it's like Jane Austen kind of like party drama, and I am very entertained by that kind of stuff.
That's why you
Yeah.
like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
Yes,
as much
because
as I
it's
do.
Pride and Prejudice.
There's just something about like people whose entire drama is they don't know how to waltz.
Well,
And
no,
they
better.
put such
The big drama
vehement
is
hatred because
when they
of this.
ask this guy from out of town to demonstrate a waltz, he chooses a specific dancing partner that everyone wasn't expecting, and that's a big deal. Like-
Yeah.
We do love
Jeff,
that kind of drama.
Have you watched Bridgerton? Because I feel
I
like
have
you would
not
enjoy
actually.
Bridgerton.
Becca just watched the whole thing in like a week, and I
good.
did not see any of it.
I think based on this conversation, I think you would like it.
We'll come back next week. Jeff will be just like the biggest Downton Abbey fan. He'll be watching Bridgerton while we're recording.
See, here's the thing.
Yikes.
Here's the
I
thing
hope
about old party stuff. Is that I do enjoy it, but not enough to have read any Jane Austen beyond Pride and Prejudice. I
Oh,
hated
yeah.
all.
I
hated
don't
all
want
the
to read
others.
any of that. It's a slog. For
Well, I
me,
tried
I'm
to
not interested
watch-
enough, but I love watching
I
them.
tried to watch Emma, not the one. I think there was.
You were
an-
watching me?
That's kind of weird.
I know,
When?
right?
That's
Why
weird.
would you do that?
I forgot. I'm sorry. It's like what I said during our D&D game last week. I said that all the assholes I knew were named Matt, forgetting that one of my D&D party members is named Matt.
It was pretty good. It was really good.
Oh no!
So bad. But yeah, no, I like Jane Austen, like the concept of the party drama, but I don't actually like watching it if there's not also zombies or ghosts involved, which is why I like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies and Crimson Peak more.
Oh, all right.
Valid. I liked the waltz scene because they're like a true waltz is said to be really good if they can hold a candle and the flame
Oh,
doesn't
yeah?
go out. And then the flame didn't go out, and it was cute.
Yeah,
But the flame definitely should have gone out.
it should have. They were moving too
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
moving
what the
pretty
logic
fast.
of the flame can't go out, but you also have to move so fast that you will blow the candle out.
I have waltzed, and you don't have to go that fast.
Yeah, I guess that's what
no,
they
but
mean
that's
when they say
America,
that
That's
you
the
know.
British waltz.
the problem
Oh,
with being
yes, you're
faster
right.
than light is that you can only live in
European
darkness.
style. Oh my god. No, but obviously, like the Crimson Peak being saturated with red as far as a visual,
It's a cool
Like-
visual,
Visuals of the bloody
certainly.
footprints, very fun.
Very cool.
it's an obvious metaphor about the place being blood soaked. Like no secrets there.
Much like the ghosts,
yes.
a metaphor.
But
Of
the
course.
CG, for me, my biggest like problem with this movie is that they definitely didn't need to use that much CG.
No, they could have gone a lot more practical than they did with the ghosts if they could have just like maybe reined in the creature design aspect of it a little bit. I get why they
Not
did
even
but-
though.
Yeah, no. Everything else like that would have been hard to do practically that like looked really cool, like the like soupy like clay pit that Edith fishes through.
Mhm.
Like they did that practically.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty clear that a lot of stuff was done
But all the
practically.
time, clay seeped through the boards. It was so painfully CG.
And when it
Yeah.
dripped from the machine, it looked so fake. It looked like early animated snow. Like it looked terrible.
Yeah, it looked
Also,
about as
that
bad as
clay
all the
looked
blood
gross.
spatters every time that somebody got stabbed,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which I thought looked pretty bad.
yeah, I'll give you that.
The practical like blood that they did use to like stain things looked really neat.
That
Like
looked good.
it looked really thick and dark and syrupy and
All the actual
cool.
set dressing in the movie looks good. All the like real life lighting looks good. It's just
The mansion was gorgeous.
it
Yeah.
looked good.
Yeah, it
it
was
looked
really
good. I love
striking.
the stuff that they did with like all the really cold lighting, despite the fact that it's all lit by candles, and it's like, you know, to clue you in on the fact that it's not a welcoming place. Real nice, real cool.
Mhm.
I really liked the red candles when she was having her ghost moment, where she's just
Yeah.
like walking around with this like blood red candelabra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, the candles aren't red, but like the light
Yeah.
is just red, and she's like, "Hello, if you're Enola, let me know." And then she got slapped onto the floor.
yeah, yeah. And I like how that contrasts with the room that they stay in at the post office, where we get that Hiddleston ass scene. With the way the lighting
Good
there
scene.
is all the same kind of candles, but the whole room just looks so much warmer. And it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
you know, anywhere but
Yeah.
there basically is just
But
a step up.
Yeah.
And then all the butt, yeah.
I liked all of the costuming. I thought all of that was really good.
I loved her like yellow dress.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
It looked great. It was a good
I
dress.
feel like there's a lot going on in the way that she is always dressed in contrast to the way that Lucille is always dressed.
Yep.
Did you guys see that? The way
Exactly.
she's always like wearing
Mhm.
white when Lucille is wearing black, and then she's wearing yellow and Lucille is wearing blue, and I think that was
Yeah.
cool.
because she's a butterfly and Lucille's a moth.
Yeah.
I really enjoy like the constant contrast. How Lucille's always like, "You're naive and a little twerp," but we see that Edith is not naive. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
she's pretty sharp. If you'll excuse me, she's pretty sharp.
No, I won't excuse that
Not
one.
allowed.
That's just bad.
Come on.
Okay, fine. Just this once.
All right, thanks. But yeah. Yeah, the reveal scene for the incest.
That did
No
actually
thanks.
catch me off guard a little bit because I made the guess relatively early on in the movie that Thomas and Lucille were actually together, but I thought it was like a, you know, secret marriage and they're passing themselves off as siblings, kind of a
Yeah, that's
kind of a
what
Jack
I
White
thought.
situation. But
Yeah.
but
Jack
then
White, the artist.
Yeah, like white
like from the
stripe
White Stripes,
situation.
yeah, rather or
Okay.
White Stripes situation, rather. Sorry. But then when you get to the reveal scene and she's all like, "You're not his sister," and she's like, "I am." That actually did surprise me.
And then later on, she's like, "Yeah, we had this deformed, like genetically inbred baby, and I wanted to keep it, which was a mistake."
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
And-
gross.
love that Enola seems
Enola-
to be taking care of the baby in
Yeah,
the
Enola
afterlife.
knew about it. That one was the one
Did
that threw
she
me
not
off. Is
know
Enola?
who knocked up Lucille or something? Like, what was going on
She
there?
might not
She-
have, honestly.
Because it doesn't seem like the wives are around for long,
No.
right? You kind of get the
They
vibe that
got
they're
to kill
around
an
for
Edith
like a
really
month.
quickly.
Mm-hmm. They just wanted her to sign the papers. It could be
Yeah.
that like Lucille was already pregnant when Enola showed up, and they just told her that she got pregnant by someone else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
By
Could
being
be.
a floozy.
flus.
Woohoo!
I mean, you know how pianists are.
It's true.
Always getting peed on.
Ew.
I was trying to
Ew.
think of a, like, if she's a pianist, she likes the pianist or something, but but then no.
I had to say something because there was the awkward silence just resting. I was like, anything I say right now will be funny.
Oh, that was
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Really quick, I want to go through Noah's notes if we're good with that.
I love Noah's notes.
Okay.
I'm excited for this every episode.
Nina asked me
Um,
last night if I try to make funny notes or if I get worried about making funny notes. And I'm like, no, this is just a stream of consciousness watching the movie.
This is just the way
Yeah.
you think.
If we
Jeff,
were-
can you hit us with that theme song?
I was thinking maybe what if we go like a Rob Zombie
Yeah, I'm
kind of
feeling it.
angle with it? I know last
Ooh,
time
yeah.
we
I
were
think
that
talking
would be
Misfits, but what if it's like, what if it's like Super Beast maybe, and it's like, hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm reading Noah's notes. I don't think it's
See,
like
I was
Beautiful.
see
we
I
got
got
when
it.
you said
That's
the
perfect.
Misfits angle, I was actually thinking of "World Up My Ass" by the Circle Jerks. Except instead of them saying "World Up My Ass," you say "Reading Noah's Notes."
oh, I have no idea who that is or what that song is.
Yeah, can you sing that for us, Noah?
Yeah.
No, oh my god.
No, don't play it.
So you're
The
thinking
Discord
of a
messed
stealing
up and I
people's
couldn't
mail
hear
Funny
that.
bit
because
from-
we couldn't even hear
372
it.
pages.
So-
yeah, you deserve it. They couldn't hear any of it.
Really?
Couldn't hear
Yeah.
any of it at all, no. The Discord
That's-
decided to
You
mess
guys
up.
will just
Dead
have to
hilarious.
look it up later.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Yeah.
But yeah,
okay,
so Noah's, notes.
notes.
Okay, so one thing that like is actually serious that I want to address first is that I agree with is a rather chunky one here. It says, I won't lie, I actually really hate when a woman is cast as super progressive in a period piece because it comes off a little awkward and forced. And
It kinda does.
Here's the thing. It immediately makes me think like the way Edith behaves in the beginning of the story, because she doesn't come across as a forced feminist anywhere else. She just wants to write horror
No, it's
stories.
just in that one moment where she does her like
Mary
anti-capitalist line.
Yeah.
And that line by itself felt so uncomfortably forced into the movie.
It reminds me of in the Beauty and the Beast like live action remake where it's like teaching women to read isn't one of them enough. That's like the vibes that I get where it's like, oh, we have to make our character that's already pretty cool on her own super feminist or else people won't get the point.
And that's what bummed me out is the rest of the movie, Edith is a great, well-rounded character that doesn't feel pushy.
Yeah.
And
She
'cause
could have been
the
a
whole plot of her
perfectly-
being like, it tainted her line about how my handwriting's too feminine and I'm realizing that's hurting my chances. That's a good line.
That's a good
I
line.
like that.
Yeah.
But with that coming moments after she's like, a baronet is a parasite who lives off the land that others work for him because he's a capitalist pig and men need to stop putting women down because women can write books that they want to. And the whole thing didn't work for me because
I did like the line about Mary Shelley dying a widow just because now Edith is also a widow.
Oh,
By the end of
yeah.
the story. So that
like
is,
she didn't marry her gay best friend Alan.
Oh, she and Alan
obviously.
definitely ended up together. They have too much shared trauma at this point. Okay, so actual.
But yeah, that is my issue with a huge issue I have with the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
That I don't have an issue with anywhere else in it, but I do feel that one line is just it's just
It's
too
forced.
much. It's too much. It's
Yeah.
forced. It feels awkward. Personal opinion.
No, I feel it. Okay, so here's some funnier ones. Let your father wear a corset if he wants to, Edith.
Hell yeah.
It's like, oh,
Preach.
I need to wear a corset. And she's like, you don't need a corset, father. And it's just like, let the poor fat old man put on a corset and feel good about himself.
I mean,
what a
maybe he just wants to
well-written-
wear women's clothing in general, and since he could wear a corset under his regular clothes, he thought that would be a good place to start.
What a well-written like grieving scene for Edith,
Yes.
by the way, when she finds her father dead and she starts talking about how he never wanted to look his age. Like, you feel that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was
I really
really
liked
good.
that.
That's well written
Oh, yeah.
and very well acted.
Mm-hmm.
That one makes me tear up. I forget about it every time. What else have we got? We got the old wiggly handle, a classic staple of the old Victorian homes.
She just walks up to it. She's like, huh, weird. And then the
Wiggly.
ghost appears and she's like, oh no.
Like, oh, could have seen this coming.
Also, Alan and his like silver dust photos or whatever those are.
Yeah.
I love how certain he is that they cannot be faked.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's impossible to fake this. And then he shows us pictures of like ghost images. And it's just like,
Those
how do you know you can't fake
definitely
those?
could have been faked. I mean, come on.
This one, I love how incredibly over serious Mr. Hawley is, and also one of the most suspicious people I've ever seen.
Like it's the sideburns. The sideburns
True,
and that
true.
face both make him look like the most informed person that I'm afraid of getting his knowledge, and also the shiftiest person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
That's-
comments on. No, go ahead.
That's the Pacific Rim guy, right? The guy who's always working with Charlie Day.
Oh, it might be.
Is it?
I honestly don't remember. I'll have to
Guillermo
look that
knows
one up.
3 actors.
Yeah. I just the way that Holly like held his face all the time was just kind of like, my dude, you obviously your face doesn't just look like that. I can tell you're doing it on purpose. You
I
need to
can't
stop.
smile. He's doing his best Batman.
It's kind of a bad. It looks like a butler face to me, you know, where you're like taking your lips and trying to like push your entire mouth down onto your chin, you know.
He just looks like New York.
Does he look
Guillermo
like
del
New
Toro does know 3 actors, doesn't he? Because I came here to look
To
up
have
the
a good
guy
time,
who
and I
played
feel
the
so
character
attacked
in
right
Pacific
now.
Rim. He's already cast for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Is he the guy
Guillermo
that
del
steals
Toro's
children?
making a Pinocchio movie.
Yeah, he got
Yes.
signed off on the live action Pinocchio.
It's
Yikes.
going to have a lot
Wow.
of stop motion animation, and he is Mr. Hawley as well. It's going to have a lot of stop motion animation. I actually know someone who's working on the animation side of things, and I'm very
I
proud
could
of.
only guess who it is.
Of all Nina's stop motion animation friends.
What else is I anyway? Shout out to Cranberger. Not that he needs a shout out. He's way more famous than any of us.
Yeah, Cranberger,
we have
shout
a
us out. We were
podcast.
nice to you.
I don't know who that is, but good for them.
I'll send you some of his work. He's a really talented stop motion animator.
I could pick that up from context.
Yeah. So I wanted to point out how many comments there are on Edwardian fashion in this document that Noah has.
Okay.
We have, I love how thin and wiry her glasses are. I forget that's just how you make them fit to your heads back then. That's number 1. We have, I do enjoy the style of popped collar with the collar with the massive necktie of some sort, like crispy tall collar with tiny turn down points.
I mean,
And we
I'm
also
not
have,
specifically.
and we
wait,
also
wait.
have
I'm
the hat
specifically.
pins are neat. I never really think about how that's the literal only way to actually keep those tiny delicate hats on.
Okay, so for the collar thing, you know, we got Thomas with his like 3-inch tall collar, and the corners are barely turned down on his,
It's
and
a
all the
vampire
Americans have
collar.
like more reasonable period collars.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's rocking a straight vampire collar. I have no defense for any of the other comments.
I agree. I love that kind of fashion. Other ones. Touch my hand. No, not like that.
Wait, what was that for?
That was from when she's like, "Hey, here, if you're here
Oh.
with me, touch my hand," and then the ghost just like freaking slams her on the ground. Mr. Hawley is so great. I love his sideburns. They make me trust him so little while giving him an air of authority.
I like Mr. Hawley.
Oh my god. One evening without the toxic tea and she's blowing this whole thing wide open.
It all happened after her one night. She boned, no tea, everything else fell apart.
Yo,
Yes, my special interest, knives on hands. I might just die.
Oh, it's
I hated
horrible.
that so much.
It's so bad.
It's such a horror trope. Someone grabs a knife and then pulls it away slowly, dragging their hand across the blade.
Yeah, it's like, come on, what's wrong with you?
I
I
just don't like it.
That or my big thing is when people go to like swear a blood oath or whatever, and they cut across their palm, which is the most
Instead of just,
impractical
like-
way to like cut yourself to draw blood, because like you have to use that hand, and that
Yeah,
hurts so.
If you were gonna do
much.
that, you just prick your thumb and
Yeah.
you got blood.
Or a wrist or something, so that you can still use your hand. Like, come on. Anyway,
I see you're attacking the Prophet Malcolm right now.
indeed I am.
I do have
Blood for blood, brother.
I do have one that I actually want to talk about here, which is Mr. Cushing was not at all a condescending guy. He's just a businessman, not even a shitty one. He literally just earned everything he had and wasn't going to give it away for nothing. For one thing, commentary on my father, actually. Secondly, no, you're absolutely right. Thomas clearly had nothing going for him, and that's
Yeah.
why Mr. Cushing was a dick. It's
Yeah.
because the guy was trying to waltz in there like, give me money for my clay mining machine, I guess.
See, if he was trying to sell shares in his clay mine, I would guarantee to you Cushing would have been way more interested because the product he had
probably.
to sell was very valuable. Really hard bricks, transportable, good quality stuff.
Super red.
There's no reason that he wouldn't want to get his hands on this brick, like, building materials. However, he came in and he's like, I have created this digging machine.
that I don't even have a working full-size model of. Give me money, please.
Okay, here's the thing though. The fact that he had that tiny little scale model that actually worked is pretty impressive.
Actually, it's less
concept.
impressive. He got that working and couldn't figure out his problems with the big boy.
Well,
Also,
but
he
like,
just stuck
how
No,
his
he
did
just
hand
he-
in
needed
how did it
money
work?
to be able
how
to.
did it work? Did it have a tiny little miniature steam engine in it, or did he invent batteries so that it could be battery operated?
It
No,
was
it was
smoking.
emitting steam. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I think
have
that's
to assume
impressive.
it had a coal engine of
I
some
want to know
sort.
how that works.
Because they do mention that the real model has a coal engine.
Right.
For some reason, Lucille is the only one who has access to coal, though.
That's kinda weird, right?
Lucille, we need to use more of the coal. I just
It's because
I
she's
just-
the only one with the keys, I guess.
I think it's just because she has the house coal and she gives Thomas an allowance that he uses to buy his thing.
I
Yes.
think that's super fair,
That's what the impression I
considering
got.
that, like, if she just let him have free reign of the coal, he'd probably just throw it all in the machine.
Just use all of it, yeah.
They do need to live through the winter.
Okay, but hold on. Now back to the pitching scene where
Yes.
he's in the room with all the investors or whatever.
Mhm.
The speech that Mr. Cushing gives, where he's like, in America we reward hard work and not privilege. That's
Okay, no,
how
that
we
was-
built
That
this
was pretty
country.
awful.
Okay, so the note that I wrote at that point literally just says, "Slavery who?"
Okay. I will back down and say that was a very condescending line of him. I'm not going to pretend that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I think it was normal levels of American businessman
Oh, totally.
condescending.
It sounds about right. Like, that's probably what they sounded like. I just hated it.
Yeah, well, like,
It just sounded like
as
such,
someone,
like, boomer shit.
yes, as someone who's dealt with her fair share of business boys, Mr. Cushing is far from the least likable one that I've dealt with.
Yeah, Bill Gates.
So, yeah, I literally have seen Bill Gates' house, but they don't let you near it. They got a lot,
What a
they got a lot of
dick.
security. You can try and go up to it on a boat because it's on the edge of the lake, but you will get head off at the pass by several security boats.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way
But
to get
no.
close is to work for the security company.
Yes. Cut this part out when we go through it, Emma.
I
This
ain't
sounds too
editing it.
serious.
I'm going to get my vaccination one way or the other.
Go straight to the source.
Did you know that Noah gets to have his vaccine before I do because he works at a church?
Really?
Yeah,
Church
They're
employees
next
are
on
on
the
the
list.
list?
Mhm.
both clergy and support staff are next on
You're
the
a
list.
clergyman.
or support staff.
You're a clergyman support staff.
I am an ordained minister, actually. I probably could have spun that. Well,
I don't
No.
think so.
no.
Not without an actual church.
Have you met my basement church?
It consists of me and Noah.
We're growing.
I
Where
don't-
two or more gathered in his name.
That's exactly right.
See?
Emma knows what I'm talking about.
Emma's out here
Religion
putting her degree to good
Emma
use.
would be here too. But, we're, COVID.
Social distancing.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
what denomination
I
are
would
you?
drive there every Sunday with the car that I don't own.
What denomination is your
counts.
church,
For
Noah?
church.
Non-denominational.
Yeah.
Ah.
Of course it is. Every new church is non-denominational.
Because every denomination sucks.
It's true.
There's just no way to win.
That's one of
True.
the only funny things I think Tim Hawkins said that actually stuck with me that I haven't looked back on later and been like, oh, that's not that
Tim
great.
Hawkins
Yeah.
wasn't that funny.
Was when he said, you're not non-denominational, you're just a Baptist with a fancy website.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is one of his
back to
best
Most
relatable
traits.
non-denoms
things.
Anyway.
are.
I don't know. That's all I have in my notes. I
Your
wanted to
notes?
flip through again just to make sure that there wasn't anything super special I wanted to make sure I talked about. Because one thing definitely was the weird feminist angle of an already good, rounded, strong character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess the only thing I have is I thought that the movie was going to be more scare forward when I first saw it because it opened up. I thought it would follow more that tone, and then that backed down a lot.
No, it's just a story with ghosts. It's a metaphor.
I have a
Um,
question, actually. Speaking of scare forward movies, I don't know if this one is scare forward or not, but it made
No.
me think. Not this movie. I was gonna say
Oh.
the woman in black with Daniel Radcliffe. I kind of have wanted to see that one for a while, but I haven't. Has anyone here seen it?
I've heard it placed against this as a much scarier version of the story,
Okay.
not a better story, but that it is scarier.
Okay, I kind of want to. I might watch that in my own free time because
I've heard it's fun.
It
I've heard
must
it- I've
not
heard
be
it's fun as
scary
well.
at all because this wasn't very scary.
No, this movie isn't very scary. It's very.
That's
Un-
cool,
un-
though.
No, the
it's
other
very
movie
cool.
is scarier.
Oh, okay.
It's not as scary as
Yeah.
Killer Clowns, so don't get your hopes up.
I mean, obviously not. But this
Or
one
Gothic
does
horror
have that
trilogy.
neat scene where Edith goes down on the elevator by accident. She walks into that room and she's like, "Oh, I'm just in a clay factory."
Yes, I'll take lines that will follow the podcast to its grave for 200.
Well, it wouldn't have followed so hard if Apostle literally hadn't had such a dead
Right,
identical
right.
scene.
And then there's that
It's
one
just
scene
funny.
where Lucille walks into the basement and sticks that gigantic crazy straw into the clay pit.
And starts drinking. Yeah.
Doesn't that stuff look like it? Okay, so one time
looks
I had this
Mhm.
shake at McDonald's. It was like a dreamsicle shake that seemed to have the same consistency to it as
Oh.
this clay sludge. That's what I think it would taste like, is kind of a sludgy McDonald's shake.
See, I
I
was
think it would
thinking
taste like a liquefied red velvet.
Yeah, I was thinking like a red velvet milkshake of some sort, just because it's such a strong red,
Yeah, I can see that.
Incidentally,
so
that
our-
sounds delicious.
It did.
Yeah.
It did look tasty. I would eat that clay. Guillermo del Toro would have to hold me back, which he could do very easily. He is much
He's a
larger and
large
stronger.
man.
He is a
That's why they
large
call him the
man.
bull.
Willie the Bull. I mean, we did gloss over when Willie the Bull appeared in this movie, but I guess we don't really have time to go back to that now, do we?
I
No.
mean, if anything, that's the one scene I don't want to spoil or talk
Mhm.
about in this. I want the viewer to experience that for the majesty that
It was just really cool.
It was really, really great. Loved how that.
Yeah,
came
talking
together.
of visuals, that was the strongest visuals in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we have other things we want to talk about with this movie, or?
I'm just itching for you to reveal to the world the movie that you picked out, Emma.
Oh, wait. End of the movie.
Oh.
End of the
Edith's
movie.
dress made it look like she had because of the poofs on her shoulders, it very much harkened that moth versus butterfly thing again because she kind of looked butterfly-y.
Yeah, a little bit.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a thought.
Also, I was just trying to imagine what it would feel like to fall asleep in pajamas that had big poofs on the shoulders.
I think about that with
Miserable, I would
every
think.
period
It'd probably
movie I
mess with your
watch
neck.
when I see their bedwear. Like,
I mean, they looked like soft poofs that would like just kind of poof down, so I don't think they'd mess with your neck. But
poofy shoulders in general, I just don't know how mobile they are. Like, I love seeing them in costume design, and but I've never worn any before.
Yeah.
I was watching Into the Woods, and Meryl Streep's character, and that one has like these massive, massive poofy shoulders, and I was thinking to myself, how can she like act wearing that? Like, how do you move your arms? So if anyone
Very
out
carefully.
there has worn poofy shoulders, and I'm not talking like 80s shoulder pads, I'm talking like poofy.
Right.
Please reach
poofy,
out to
like
me and
fairy tale shoulders.
yeah, like talk to me about your experience. I'm very curious.
So Emma, I hear
Yeah.
this is a rumor I've heard.
Uh-huh.
I hear you've been teasing us with a movie for the last month or so.
Yeah.
Big reveal movie.
Big reveal
Um,
movie.
Big
But-
thing that other
we
people
have
might
to-
not get it as much.
We have to close out first.
We do have to close out, don't
and
we?
do.
then I announce what movie I'm doing.
All right,
All right, Emma. All right.
All right.
Emma.
So in
So
closing
we gotta
out,
keep them in suspense a little bit longer.
So in closing out, my final thoughts on the movie. The pacing was also a little bit slower than I would have liked.
It is 2 hours, and I don't think it needed to be more than an hour
I
and a
think
half.
it overstays
I think we
its
could have cut it
welcome
down.
a little bit. I understand that it's trying to be like more of a slow burn, but I think it's just a little bit too slow.
I think there are too many scenes that happen almost identically more than one time. Every time the ghosts show up, we're still talking about Crimson Peak, right? I spaced out for a minute.
Yes.
Every time the ghosts show up, it's the same thing.
It is.
Every time. It's like the ghost shows up and then Edith finds something completely unrelated to the ghost.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Every
like
time.
Edith discovering the record cylinders and then finding the player and then playing the record cylinders, that didn't have to be 3 separate scenes.
Yes, it did not. And each scene was preceded by a ghost. I think that's cool that she found the thing, but like, here's me making a cooler movie in my head. I think it would have been cooler if the ghost had been trying to communicate but couldn't and found the record player so that they could talk to her. Kind of like Stitch when he puts his finger on the record player and opens his mouth and like Elvis comes out.
Yeah.
Like, I would have liked something like that where they were communicating with her more directly instead of just scaring her into
Yeah.
making discoveries.
I want the
Well, she
ghosts
already
to be
knew
a
something
bigger
was up.
part of the story is what I want.
Which also, on a pacing front, I was dreading watching this a second time, but I did enjoy it significantly more the second time.
Mhm.
I
So-
figured this would be a movie that would be good for like a second run through.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
is.
Um,
I enjoyed it more the second time as
Especially
well.
like the first half where you're getting to kind of like see Thomas and Lucille when they're trying to be deceptive or whatever, and you know like what they're
Yeah,
doing.
you can catch all the foreshadowing and stuff.
Mhm.
And all the times that they awkwardly kiss each other on the mouth.
I thought that was weird even the 1st
Mhm.
time, yeah.
It's one of those things where you kind of see it happening, and it's just like, is this like because people just did that back then, or is
Or
this
are these guys
weird? And then they hit you with the incest right in the face.
Yeah, right in the
So-
cheek.
Easily the most horrific part of this movie.
Definitely.
So yeah, Jeff, you have anything else to say about the movie, or you want to give your plugs or what?
I
What you
think I'm
feeling?
done.
All right.
You can find me Twitter, Bubba Wubba Dab. That's Bubba like in Forrest Gump, Wubba like the same thing but with a W for Wumbo, and Dab like,
That'll translate over audio really well.
I bet it will.
Yeah.
I dabbed in case our listeners didn't figure that out.
Yeah.
And
I'm. Oh, do you have another one?
Instagram
Oh, yeah, you have your
at
Instagram.
the Hammer of Jeff. There you go.
I'm Emma. You can find me on Twitter at mjade2017. I haven't been streaming, so I won't plug that. I have been working on a tabletop RPG system for the past few months, and I'm starting to playtest that. And there'll be some videos coming out for that on a YouTube channel that I'm a part of called Blades and Blasters. So
Fun.
if you like Final Fantasy and you want to see the system I made for it, then you can go look there.
Nice. You can find me as Bubba the Bad, Bubbadabad, Twitch, Twitter, and Insta. I do things on those, but I'm
What
looking
things?
to all kinds of things. So many things. You couldn't even get into it.
Please.
Today I posted on my Insta story that my phone told me I used I had my screen time go up 37 hours from last week, which
full-time
actually
job.
apparently means it's just how many hours my phone screen was on, not how many more than last week, since last week was 25 hours more than the week before. But I found a new YouTube channel that I've been watching a lot of, so I just kind of like turn my phone on and I watch YouTube while I do things on my computer, so I can separate the audio and concentrate better.
This is not sponsored, but watch Strange Aeons on YouTube. She's great. She
is. She's
talks about
fantastic.
a lot of different stuff.
If
but-
you hate Onision, she's the channel for you.
And you should.
I don't know what that is.
He's
Yeah,
Stay that way.
We're not going to explain it.
Stay that way.
I can give you the brief at another time.
But
He's a
anyway,
piece of
yeah,
shit.
tweet
You
at me
should
on
hate him.
Twitter because I want to talk to people who aren't interacting with me just to be shitty. Because I've had a few of those recently out of nowhere.
You talking about me?
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah,
Could you
Jeff.
chill out? no, like random people who I don't follow interacting with things that I retweet to like make a point about something, like region locks on Blu-rays. Region locked media shouldn't exist.
No,
It's stupid.
It should not. It's dumb.
And they just interacted to tell me that it was not region locked, which they did fix. But when I looked at it first, it said it was locked to region B, which is the UK and Europe and stuff like that. And I'm just like, it literally says it's region locked. And they then clarified Ultra HD Blu-rays are not region locked. No one region locks those. That's great.
Okay. That
They
doesn't
updated
change
the
the
listing
fact
to say
that
it was region free.
region locked media in general should not exist.
It's exactly what I was saying.
Point still
but-
stands.
If you guys want to argue
You
with
know.
Noah, follow him.
Yeah, Bubba the Bad, BUBBADABAD.
Be polite,
He
please.
loves arguing. He loves arguing. Be polite, but definitely be contrarian. He loves it when you do
Yeah,
that.
if you're weird to me, then I will screenshot you and send you to my various group texts and be like, "Hey, look at this asshole."
He'll also maybe block you.
I've been very block happy recently.
Just
Anyway,
tweet
if
at
you wanna
Is
get
that
Noah.
why I
blocked by
Like,
don't see your
Noah.
tweets anymore?
just be like, socialism could be considered a sandwich, and that's why capitalism is superior.
What the hell?
And then he'll
Get
just
out of here!
he'll have a seizure.
I quit this podcast.
Anyway, if you guys want to follow me, I'm nowhere near as interesting as these fools. But you can find me at Nina Wolverina on Twitter and Instagram and Twitch. Not on Tumblr because I locked myself out of my own username. So it's Nina Wolverina with a 3 instead of the second E because I had to improvise.
Nina Wolverthrina.
Yeah, Nina Wolverthrina. Or you can find me on House Usher Rises on Twitter, where I retweet horror art. And that's about it.
Yeah. Next time, we'll be watching a movie that is a pinnacle of the horror genre in recent years.
Iconic,
Definitely
honestly.
Iconic. Something nobody expects. We are watching New Mutants. That's right. The X-Men movie. That's kind of a horror movie that no one thought would ever come out. It's out. It's here. And we're gonna talk about it. So please look forward to that one.
I am.
I love X-Men. I will do my best not to
Oh,
be an
you?
overpowering nerd.
You really?
I'm so excited.
Nina
That'd be great.
Wolverina, you like X-Men?
Shut up.
See, my favorite thing is this movie came out as the first Marvel horror movie, kind of, when they were trying to build the new Doctor Strange for that.
Well, and
And then-
Morbius as well.
Oh, and Morbius. And then
Oh,
all that stuff
no.
got delayed, and they just threw it
Morbius.
out there. It's like, New Mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
But yeah.
so little about it. Not only did I not realize that it was out, but also I didn't know that it was a movie. I thought it was going to be a TV show. So, like, I'm all kinds
Yeah.
of confused here.
Well, it's gonna be great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You know a Marvel property that has been surprisingly horror forward? No spoilers, but WandaVision has
Yeah.
actually been pretty neat in that regard. So if you guys are thinking about watching it, but don't know whether to or not, it's pretty decent. I didn't want to watch it, but my boss made me, and I don't regret it.
The
I
past couple episodes have been really good.
heard you wrong
Mhm.
when you said that, and I thought you said long division, like the math, and I was like, well, yeah, that is
That's
pretty
pretty
scary.
horrific.
But
I hate long division.
Damn, long division be like.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening as always. If you want to talk to us on Twitter, you can do so at our personal ones, or you can follow us at Casual Horror Pod and talk to me, but with our cool little podcast picture.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.